Appreciate you guys coming out here today. I want to apologize in advance. My Coach Smart gets to carry a microphone around at practice. I don't, and we've been doing a lot of encouraging out there. So, excited. I think this is every coach's favorite time of year. We really enjoy the opportunity to work for our guys, and this is really, why you get in the profession, the opportunity to teach. Obviously, extremely grateful to Coach Smart for the opportunity to be here at the University of Georgia and work with the collective unit of coaches that we get to work with. We've got a phenomenal staff, do a really good job, and we're really fortunate to get to coach some really, really good players. So that being said, we'll open it up for questions.
I would just ask about the defensive coordinator. The hiring, when we talked to you at the Sugar Bowl, was kind of up in the air. I mean, how did that transpire? I mean, was there a formal interview, or were you just kind of on the fence waiting, or how'd that shake out?
I think one thing that's great about Coach Smart, anybody that works for Coach Smart, puts himself in a position every day where he's training you for opportunities moving forward. He wants you to think outside the box. So I think, the interview process for me started the day that I got here, and probably back to my time when I was, at Alabama with Coach. But I think that's for every one of our coaches on our staff, is he puts you in situations where you have to think, try to be ahead of the curve and prepare yourself for a situation if something changes and an opportunity presents itself.
Saw at practice the other day. I saw you working with the outside linebackers as you have, obviously. How much fire and passion do you have in just doing those drills with this group of guys? And then also the second part to the question, what do you see from those younger guys, Jermaine Johnson, Nolan Smith, in the depth that you have there now?
Yeah, obviously I have a real passion for this game. Something I really love to do. And I always tell our guys, whenever football's over with, make sure you do something you're passionate about. But I think your players take on your mentality. And if I played or coached really casually and just kind of was on cruise control out there, I think my players would play that way. So I want to play with passion, coach with passion, so my players play with passion. On young guys stepping up, we got a ton of competition in that room. I'm really, really excited about it. In fact, yesterday we were joking around. We started fitting some runs. The pads came on yesterday. I don't know if you guys know, it's Shark Week, but Nolan Smith, we're calling him Hammerhead now, the way he likes to collision runs. So, there's some really good competition. We got some guys in there that are working really hard, but at this point, it's still wide open.
Dan, we heard a lot about havoc rate, obviously, especially with the edge guys and the idea of maybe taking more chances and getting in there. How much of that is like a conscious decision and schematic? How much of it is y'all don't think that there was enough of it last year and you need to emphasize it more?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a combination of both. Every year we do a self-scout and we try to evaluate what things can we do better, what issues can be created for the offense, and what can we change schematically. And then I think every fall when you start, you say, okay, what are the points of emphasis? What are we really going to hammer home? Because if you try to do everything, you're going to be an expert at nothing, right? So we want to really focus on, how do we coach it and how do we create it? If we emphasize it in that team meeting room, show examples of it every single day, then I think that more of it's going to show up on the field. But yeah, in correlation with also what we're doing different schematically, I think that's going to help as well.
In terms of the returning outside linebackers, since last season, which can you single out one or two that have shown you that they're ready to take the next jump in terms of productivity?
Yeah, I think it'd be hard to single out one or two, but I mean, there's some guys that have had a really good camp so far, and obviously we're only 3 days in. Walter Grant's a guy that moved around a lot in the spring and has done some really good stuff coming back, work with us more full-time this fall. Aziz Ojulari is a guy that finished off the year last year really strong and is doing really well, but I don't think you could put aside the work that Rob Beals put in, Adam Anderson's put in. So, I mean, it's hard to just sit here and say this guy, that guy. And obviously we have some newcomers we're really excited about.
One of those newcomers is Nolan Smith, and you saw him in the spring. What are you sort of seeing out of him so far, with all the hype that surrounds him?
One thing coming in with guys, you want to make sure that it's not just about stars. And I think, coming to college is a humbling experience for any person. So Nolan handled that the right way, but he's really eager to learn. He's extremely bright and smart. He's one of those guys that he signed his signing day papers, and then the next day he's like, Coach, where's my playbook at? right? That's Nolan, and he's great for our room. He motivates our guys. He plays really hard, and you can overcome a lot of young mistakes when you play hard, and that's what's exciting probably about Nolan.
Coach, you had an opportunity in the Sugar Bowl, obviously, to coordinate this defense. How did you think that went, in general, and any lessons, any takeaways from that brief time?
You watched the Sugar Bowl?
Yeah.
But no, I mean, obviously a great learning experience. A great opportunity, but we didn't take advantage of it. I think it left a sour taste in our mouth. But that was last year, and this is, 2019 team's a completely different team than our 2018 team, and that's the focus. Around the very first day, we talked about the guys that were there before and the guys that are there now, and it's a different group, right? So, that game, I won't say it's put behind us because we acknowledge them. What happened, but we've moved on from that, and we know that this is a completely different team at this point. But
was that somewhat of a glimpse as to what DeAndre Baker and DeAndre Walker meant to that defense last year?
Yeah, they were great. They were big keys, to our defense. But I'll say this, especially going into this year, we're not going to play 11 players on defense, right? We're going to play a lot of guys. We got a lot of experience returning, right? I'm looking to play as many guys as we can that are ready to play, right? So now the expectation is to find the guys that can go in there, put themselves in position to go play, right? And then who's going to take advantage of those opportunities? We'll play as many as we can,
The Sugar Bowl itself, the game itself, and the lead up to it, how similar were you effectively the defensive coordinator at that point? And if not, what was your role then? What is your role now in terms of calling?
It was a team effort then, and it's a team effort now, right? And obviously, I'm that right now. I'm charged with being the head coach of the defense. My job is to make Coach Smart jobs easier, right? But I don't do that alone. I do that with every one of the coaches we have on defense, with Coach Schumann, Coach Scott, Coach Warren. And it's going to be a collective unit from today all the way to the end of the season, right? And that's the way we're always going to operate. On game day, will there be a little bit of an executive committee? Yeah, at times, right? But it all starts with our head coach. And lucky for me, every day where I'm having a question, how would I operate as a defensive coordinator in that room, I can just look to my left and look at the guy that was the best D coordinator in the nation for 9 years, right? And ask him the question. So as long as I'm here, it'll always be committee. We'll always work together to get what we need to get accomplished. But there's some things I'm going to be charged with that require some more decisions to be made.
So, as you kind of look back at your career path, whether it be Alabama, whether it be before then, as you go through this ride, was it kind of always a dream of yours to be a DC, coordinate the defenses you are now?
Yeah, absolutely. I've always had the goal to be able to be in a position I am in now, and honestly realize how fortunate I am to be in that spot, because I know how many good coaches don't get this opportunity. So yeah, it's something I've absolutely worked for, and obviously really extremely grateful to Coach Smart for that opportunity.
What is Charlton Warren brought? He's new to the staff. He's another guy that seems to be pretty, intense, maybe like yourself. What has he brought to the defensive meeting room and on the field?
Anytime you're able to bring in, a coach that's been some other places, it's always exciting. You can get some fresh ideas, some new stuff. And Coach Warren's an extremely bright coach, does a really good job, and has a lot of experience in the SEC and just across the nation, the programs he's worked with. So we're able to sit back and ask him questions about how they've done it different somewhere else to see if it's something we can improve on defensively. And then I think he brings a great discipline to that room with his players. He holds those guys accountable and does a really good job with that. A very, very bright coach that has been great for us.
What are you expecting from Jordan Davis this year at nose?
Yeah, to whoop the guy across from his butt. That's what I'm expecting. So I hope he gets a chance to watch that, because that's what I want to see him do every snap. Right, and obviously he has to be in great condition to do that, great shape to do that, but Jordan has the potential to be a great player, right? He has to put that together every single day when he comes to work, and he's one of those guys. We talk about havoc a lot. Havoc doesn't start just with the D-line. Everybody talk about, D-line havoc, D-line havoc. It's not just the D-line, right? What else is in that category? PBUs, right? The secondary can create havoc, right? But Jordan Davis is definitely a big part of that moving forward for us.
What do you see as the ceiling for the defensive line, and can you give me your early impressions of Travon Walker?
Yeah, it's hard to measure a ceiling 3 days in. I think it's still relatively early in fall camp, especially with yesterday being just the first day of pads. But am I excited about the guys we have in that room? Absolutely. Trayvon is extremely athletic, is strong, right? He's really an athletic guy for his size. Obviously, he has the basketball history as a high school player. So I'm definitely excited to see what he can do. He's a guy that's good moving, but he's also strong enough to hold the point. So I don't think I wouldn't put a ceiling on Trayvon, and I also wouldn't put a ceiling on our D-line at this time.
You were really involved in Nakobe Dean's recruitment, and Kirby singled him out. Other players have singled out for his intelligence, his instincts. Did you guys see that in him early on in the recruiting process, and kind of how far has he come since he's gotten here?
Yeah, anytime that you're recruiting a guy, you always, beyond football, beyond turning on the film and saying, can this guy play for us? We do character evals. We're gonna get into the school and see what the janitor's going to say about him, right? See what the secretary says about him. And obviously, when you go to Horn Lake, Mississippi, there's not a person that's going to say a bad thing about Nakobe Dean. Obviously, he's over a 4.0 student, right? So, yeah, we knew he was a good student. We knew he was a high character guy before he ever got here. And I think that's just carried over to his time here.
You got to see him obviously in the
Nakobe,
spring. I was gonna say you got to see him in the spring and pads. Is that something is that good that you can evaluate somebody?
Yeah.
You're talking about Trayvon. You hadn't seen him in a couple days.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, lucky for us, we have I think 14 mid-years, right? That's huge. That's getting an extra 15 practices in, and then walkthroughs in the days in between that and meetings. So, I think for what we ask our guys to do, I think it's really, really important that they get that extra time, and that was obviously a benefit to him.
On Nakobe, if I'm not mistaken, I think he's an engineering student. Can you talk about the challenges of a guy taking on an academic rigor like that, and then I guess the positives of somebody that has that high level of intelligence?
It's hard for me to talk about the rigors because I was a PE major. It's a little bit different, but no, Nakobe. Actually, he's an engineering student. So is Nolan Smith. I think there's a few other guys on our team that are, and takes his academics extremely serious. I think the very first week he was here, his academic advisor the next day said I was getting an email from Nakobe Dean after midnight asking about where's this assignment at. He takes pride in it. So there's a lot. Georgia's a great academic school. Right? When you come here, you have to perform not only on the field but in the classroom, and that's what we ask our guys to do. Not just I don't want you to be number one, just on the field. You got to be number one in the classroom, and he's one of those guys that does that.
I want to ask you about Jermaine Johnson because I know that you were obviously a big part of what brought him here.
Yeah.
Can you kind of dive into what it was like to go up to Independence Community College and pull him from there and just be so integrated with them, his family and everything that brought him here?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously Jermaine's somebody we're really, really excited about. But at the end of the day, I think regardless of who you're recruiting or where you're recruiting, recruiting is about relationships. And just Jermaine and I were fortunate enough. Jermaine's a guy. When I was at Memphis, I went and watched a junior college football game, right? And I got to see Jermaine Johnson perform that year, right? And I said, man, I wish I could recruit that guy, but I couldn't, right? Well, now this year I can. Right, and when I got here, that was one of the early guys that I identified as a target for somebody that we could look at, and was able to build a relationship with him that we had for a long time. And whenever you have a relationship, that gives you an opportunity.
Was there something about his experience at Independence specifically and with that coach that you feel like translates to the SEC right away?
Yeah, I mean, football's football, right? Football's football in Missouri, football's football in Kansas, football's football in Georgia, and obviously the SEC though is a different animal, right? So I think it's always hard to compare and contrast, but the field's still 100 yards. I mean that stuff doesn't change, but the difference in the way you prepare there and the way you prepare here, there's a difference.
What excites you and what concerns you about secondary right now?
Excitement. I mean, we've got a lot of young talent, and I think if you look at just across our entire defense, it'd be really hard for you to say this guy's a number one and this guy's a number two, right? We've got a ton of depth right now across the entire defense, so that's exciting to me, and a lot of talent. Concerns always in the secondary. You're concerned about not giving up explosive plays, right? Having great eye discipline, staying on top of the defense, right? And the way you do that is just continue to practice it every single day. But the more we get the experience, the communication in the back end is really important. Looking for some guys to take on some leadership roles back there. Obviously, we got a lot of experience returning with J.R. Reed, guys like Richard LeCount, and then some great experience on the outside with Eric Stokes and Tyson Campbell. But there's also a lot of newcomers that we're really, really excited about too. But as long as they continue to communicate, make sure that they're in position to defend explosive plays, we got a great chance.
You talk about that depth and looking at.
How do you teach the younger guys how? Y'all talk about competition all the time, but how do you teach guys who have been dominant in many ways on the high school level?
Well, you put them in a competition scenario. So what do we do? We try to create competition every day. And like you said, a lot of these guys are coming from a situation at their team where they're the best player on their team, and maybe that competition didn't exist. But when you walk out of that field at Georgia, you better get ready to strap it on and go to work, right? Or somebody else is going to move ahead of you. So competition almost creates itself in our practice because we've got a lot of great players.
We were talking about that depth, and you guys mix and match a lot at linebacker, inside linebacker, outside linebacker. How important is it to kind of find roles for guys and find ways to get them on the field, keep guys fresh, and because it just seems like there are just so many different. There's like a various group of talents here where certain guys do some things well and better than others.
Right. At the end of the day, you find roles for guys that are ready, right, and they have prepared for their role, right. So, like I said, I don't want to play 11, and we won't. But there's definitely certain packages you want to take a guy's skill set. Similar to my background as a high school coach, you want to make sure you're putting your guys in the best position to be successful. And some guys do some things better than other guys, right? So within that, we obviously have packages that match that, and they need to become experts at their position. And then obviously after that, it goes to how many positions can you execute, right? If you're able to play at multiple positions, now your value just went up for the team and what you can do for the defense.
Kirby said he might not be sweating the little stuff anymore, being a fourth-year head coach. Do you see that, or does it still seem like he's pretty much in the weeds with everything?
Coach Smart's extremely detailed, maybe the most detailed and efficient man I've ever been around. Every day reminds me not to waste a minute. So I don't know if I'd say he's not sweating the details or not. I'll say this: the guy's detailed, right?
You spoke of the newcomers in the secondary. Wilson, after coming back from the ACL, what type of things has he shown you, whether it be in his performance or his qualities with practice?
Right, and obviously, again, still early in the fall, everything being said, but Devon's a really, really sharp football player, very smart, can adjust on the fly, understands the mechanics of the secondary, and can play multiple positions. He's one of those guys we're talking about when you can do stuff with somebody, what can they do? He's one of those guys that can play multiple positions, but he's very smooth in transition. Obviously, he has a cover background. I think we're continuing to challenge him to continue to get more physical in the run, and that's something I think that we're going to see here in the next few days of practice, the next few weeks leading up. But Devon's a very sharp player that adjusts really well, which is required for our defense.
You mentioned young guys. Can you give us some more on Tyreek? I know he was at early enrollee. Where do you project him, and what have you seen on him so far?
Yeah, Tyreek Stevenson's a playmaker, right? And one of the things you go back to talking about havoc, right? When you put guys out in the field, there's guys that do their assignments, and then there's guys that create production, right? And what we want are guys that do both, right? And Tyreek Stevenson's a guy that was extremely productive this spring. And as he continues to become more disciplined with his eyes and more disciplined with his play, he's going to be a guy that can do both for us. We're very excited to see the plays he can make. You go watch practice, you watch that guy for a little bit, and you're saying, holy moly, we got a ball player, right? And that's what he is. So we got to do a good job of coaches of getting him ready to go out there and play.
Time for two more questions.
You mentioned, it's a defense by committee in terms of a leadership perspective. How much have you talked with Kirby about, how much you should be doing as a defensive coordinator and sort of the ins and outs of your new job?
Not that much, because guess what? When he was the D coordinator, what did I do? I watched him and watched how he operated, and I understand the requirements of the position. Getting to be here with Coach Tucker, phenomenal football coach, for a year, get to see how he operates as a defense coordinator. So I understand, what the position requires. So not a ton of details.
What are you expecting out of Brendan Cox this year?
That's a good question. I would actually leave that up to Coach Smart this time.
Thank you, Coach.